Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Welcome back to Worth Guitars. Today I'm making some trim fillers. And what I mean by that is this area right here and the tremolo. I'm going to put some black veneer down inside there. And then come back and cut that back out and redo the holes. I'm using two different kind of trims in the next guitars that I'm building. One of them is a Godot, one of them is a Futon. The Futon has a slightly larger hole and a little bit of an offset compared to the Godot tremolo. You would think they'd be exactly the same, but no, you wouldn't, because they're made in different factories. But so I really only needed a 1/2 inch deep in here, and my CNC cut a little deeper than I wanted it to. Not a whole lot. But I started thinking, I'd really like to only have a 1/2 inch, which seems excessive to me anyway, but I do it because that's what they call for. But, you know how you usually come back and paint this area black anyway, underneath the tremolo? I have some black veneer, and I was like, it would be cool if I cut some pieces of black veneer that fit exactly down inside there. And I'm going to make some clamping calls at the same time right here. That'll give me a nice even clamp surface in here. Then I can clamp those pieces of veneer in here. I'll regain that exact 1/2 inch depth that I want. I really would like those depths to be accurate. I had to come back and readjust. I had to go back into machine setup and readjust the depth that the machine cuts compared to the touch-off puck. And if you have one of these, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you have any questions about that, let me know in the comments, and I'll try and explain what I'm talking about. It's a process you got to go through. But at any rate, so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get a cool looking black veneer inside here. I won't have to paint it black. It'll be black and it'll be wood. This is going to be a clear coat on here anyway, so I'm just thinking that's going to be pretty heavy. All right? And it will also help me correct a slight depth issue that I have. So I'm going to go for it and see what happens. This is one of the guitars that I'm building for us to sell on our website. I also have some other ones that we're doing right now for a couple of other customers, a couple of different kinds of trims. One is just a Godot trim that, a hip shot trim that doesn't have the locking thing on it. It's just a regular trim like a Strat setup. And doing 3 or 4 of these at a time. And I've got all the toolpaths written now to do 2 or 3 different tremolo setups on the same guitar and 2 different kinds of necks. So that took a while to get done, but I'm really glad I took the time to do it. And now we have all these toolpaths written. But anyway, let me get these cut, and we'll see if we can get them in the guitar and see how the calls work and see if the veneer goes in there properly, and we'll see how it turns out, all right? So hang on and let me get some things going here. I'll be right back. The reason why it's so quiet is because it didn't cut deep enough. And I want to make sure that I cut all the way through these. There's 4 pieces of veneer here, taped together with some low tack. Okay, I got it that time. With some low tack, double-sided tape. So actually I'm a little too deep now, but that's okay. Turn the dust collector on. I want to make sure it goes all the way through. And so I use this super low tack double-sided tape to hold 4 pieces of veneer together. And if you're going to run something like this, you might as well run enough to do a few guitars in the future if it works well, So that's the plan. Okay, that looks good. Let's see how they fit. Let's get them up off of here. I want to get up underneath that last layer of tape there. Hopefully I can get everything apart. I did a test piece and it seemed like I could. You know, some things you try some things, they don't necessarily work. Let me get my microphone. Okay, I got my microphone on, you'll be able to hear me better. So let's get these pried up off of here. Try not to destroy all of this stuff because we're going to use it again. So what I've got is 4 pieces of veneer taped with low tack, double-sided tape together. I hope that I can get it back apart without tearing it up. That's the plan anyway. We'll see. Okay, so these are coming up okay. Not damaging them. Let's move over to the bench and we'll see if we can get these apart and see if they fit inside the guitar wall. Okay, so back over here at the bench. By the way, thanks for watching, you know, thanks for tuning in. It's good to talk to you guys again. The acoustic guitar build is still cruising along, but I have some of these other guitars that I need to get going. I'm testing out this process here of the veneer inside because my next body blank, where's that bad boy at? Sorry about that, guys. My next body blank is the same machining as that mahogany body right there. So I would really like to try and see if we can get this going well and then get this on there and start running it and use the same process. All right, so let's get back to the task at hand. Let's see if we can get these apart. There's 4 pieces stacked on each one of these. We'll see how we do. I'm hoping that maybe a razor blade will work its way down in there pretty easily. Let's see how that works. I'll try to get in between one layer with a razor blade and carefully pry up. Looks like that's working. I could probably heat them up too, would help. I just thought it would be kind of cool to have black veneer down inside there instead of black paint. So that's what I'm shooting for. Let's see what happens. Taking a few minutes this evening to experiment and see how we do. The question is, can we get them apart? That's the first question. You know what? Hold on. This is the palette knife. This palette knife, it's very thin metal spring steel. This will do the trick. These work great when you're prying off a neck or a bridge off an acoustic guitar. You know, when you're heating it up and then working something up underneath, just like I'm doing right here. Working that down inside there. And it'll just come right apart. Something very thin, but it's still strong. And you won't cut yourself like a razor blade. Okay, we did it. So there's a look at the double-sided tape. See that? And that stuff is really just peels right off. It was great for this application. It's not good for much of anything else. I've tried it a couple of different times in a couple of different ways. It has seldom actually worked for me. It did today though. It's really good for, it's really made for putting pieces of artwork together in frames and things like that. But if you have the tools, every now and then something comes in handy. And there's a piece. Let's see if it fits in the guitar before we go any further. That's really the important thing. Move some stuff. Okay, here we go. It's standing up because the pins are still in it. Those pins register me back on the machine. I just left them in there. So if I did my work correctly here, this will fit right down inside there perfectly, because what I did was take the CNC follows lines. It always CAD machines always call any line a curve. So the CNC toolpaths follow curves, and you can tell the tool to cut on the inside of the line or the outside of the line, or the right or the left, however your machine is set up. So obviously, to cut this pocket, this is a pocket toolpath, pocketing toolpath. You tell it to cut the inside of the curve. To make this piece of veneer that I made here, I just took those same lines. I opened up another page, I guess you would call it. You know, I just opened the program up again in a blank setting, copied those curves from this front of the Celine guitars and pasted them in a new program, but they are the exact curves. I didn't change anything. I just told it, instead of using a pocketing program, to use a profiling program, and I told it to cut on the outside of the line. So we have a piece that fits exactly back in the hole, like that. See that? So that works good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and this will take a little bit of time, but not a lot, because I have the origins and all the tool paths written and everything on that flash drive. So once I get a piece glued in, I'll just take it. I still have the pins right here. There are holes in the tabletop that those pins will drop in. I'll take it back over to the machine, put the appropriate cutter in there, return it to origin, and drill those holes and make that little cutout right there after the glue is dried. And this is something I can do. It'll take me a couple of days, of an hour or two, you know, I mean a few minutes. It'll take me a little bit of time to glue these things together, but then we're going to have a very cool black veneer down in the hole where the trim sits. So the trim will sit right down on top of that, and it'll be nice black veneer underneath of it. Right? And that chrome sitting on top of that black, with black pickups. Okay? So that's the plan. I'm going to keep going. I got to get my calls made. I got to get these veneers glued in today. So let's just keep going on that. We know that they fit. We know that we can get them apart. So this is very thin. Let me grab my calipers real quick. It may not necessarily be the most efficient money-making way of doing things, but it's fun to me. And if I got to do it, I got to make it fun for me to do. Because why are we doing this if we're not having a good time doing it? Okay, this veneer is only 20 thousandths of an inch thick. So I'll probably use 2 layers, and that will get me back up to the exact depth within, you know, a little bit. And I'll feel better about that, and I'll also have very cool black veneer inside the hole. So let's get these apart. Let's finish doing that. Get you a little closer so you can see what I'm doing here. Just taking this really super thin palette knife and working it right down inside there, in between 2 pieces of veneer. That's how well these palette knives work for getting underneath something. If you got a fretboard glued down, you're trying to get off, damaged for some reason, or the neck is damaged, you're trying to save the fretboard, you got a bow in the top of an acoustic guitar, you're trying to get the bridge off, a little bit of heat and tools like this right here will get them right off. See, I almost messed that one up. You come from a different direction. There we go. There we go. Just like that. Okay, that's good. All right, I'm going to move over to the CNC. I'll be right back. Okay, I got the veneers separated. I did find that a little bit of heat worked to help this tape that releases really well anyway, as you can see how well it comes off. But the longer it stays on there, it seems to get stickier, so you have to get right on it and get it done. I got this piece here. I got some lines drawn on here that you probably can't see. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly tape this piece down and run the call program real quick like. So that's my 4-inch center. That's where I want to be right there. There's my center line. Yeah, and I'll just put a couple pieces of tape straight down the center here to hold the pieces that I'm getting ready to cut off. So let me transfer that center line here across here. Mark there and a mark here. Let's get a couple pieces of tape on there. Where's my tape? Here it is. Just making 2 quick cuts. Tell you what, you got to be real careful of that right there, where it cuts the tape. I just barely nicked it with my finger and cut it. You got to be really careful with that thing. It's dangerous. Okay, get that out of the way. Line it up with my lines. Just hold that down for a moment. A moment of Zen. Okay, that's got a really good bite on that. We've already set up the height. We've already set up origin. All we got to do is run the program. So let's do that. Let's make it happen. Just double check, make sure we're good. Okay. All right, here we go. sitting down inside there. And I made this piece a little bit smaller than that opening, see? Now, I can get a clamp in here, clamp down that veneer to the back side of the guitar here. I have a clamping caul. I get nice, tight glue joint because I get an even clamp all the way across there with the glue. So we'll glue this one in, let it dry. Then we'll glue in this one right here with this caul. Get a nice tight clamp down. We don't have any weirdness going on. Okay, so then we got both of those in there like that. Get in there. Okay, so now we have a nice clean blackout of black dyed veneer underneath our bridge. And I think that's going to look really nice. I'm not going to worry about these edges here. I'm going to leave those natural. But the back side of that bridge will have that blackout on it. Right? Because most people paint that black inside there anyway. So I thought, well, why not put some veneer down inside there? Right? So let's get a piece glued in, and this will be kind of a time-lapse thing, and we'll get back to the point where we can see what it looks like. Okay? So like what I was saying earlier, a lot of the things we do, and I got a bunch of these too, by the way, so I've got a few more guitars ahead that I can do. Cut out of this stack of veneers. And I got these veneers from Woodcraft, if you're interested in it. It's just dyed black veneer, and you know, it's also good for doing layers, black, white, black underneath head plates and that type of thing. Works really good. And it costs a few bucks, but they're nice to have around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these in, and I'm just going to let that sit until tomorrow. Then when I come, and I'll do something else for the rest of the evening. Actually, don't have a whole lot of evening left. But tomorrow I'll come in and I'll glue these in, or maybe before I hit the bed tonight I'll come in, because it'll only take about an hour for this to dry. I'll come in and I'll glue these in, because luckily I live very close to my shop. And then after that's done, you can put it back on the machine. The machine will register right back up to origin, and we'll drill those holes that I got to make bigger anyway, because the Godot bridge in place, the pivot, are bigger for futon than they are for Godot. So I have to have two different setups, one for Godot, one for futon. I prefer the futon tremolo system because it's really super heavy duty and it's a big fat chunk of metal. Nowadays, the Godot one is really nice too. Of course, Floyd Rose is also good. But anyway, I digress. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use a little bit of wax paper, right, to keep it from being messy. So I'm going to take this razor blade and just cut out a piece of wax paper. So no glue sticks to anything I don't want it to stick to. Like that. Now, when I put my clamping caul on top, I don't have to worry about the glue sticking together in case anything bleeds through, because that would not be good. So I'm not going to use a ton of glue, just enough to hold things together. Doesn't take a whole ton, a lot. Okay, that'll hold that there, no problem. Put that there. So those two pieces are glued. Now let's put some glue down here. Up in there. Trying to be neat. I don't want a lot of spillover up against the other sides. Just want glue in just the bottom edge or space, like that. Okay. All right, now we take this and we stick it down in there, like that. Just like that. I'm going to take a wet paper towel and get any glue that I have left sitting there off real quick. Now we're talking. Put that in there. Put this in there. Like that. Oh yeah, so we need to do now is clamp that. And one here. Okay. Nice. Okay, that's clamped in. I'll come back in a little while. I'll clamp these pieces in. Just need one piece. That'll be done. Then tomorrow I can run the paths and we'll see what that looks like. Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. So yesterday I glued in the veneer in these pockets like we talked about yesterday. And today I'm just going to come in and drill the holes for the futon bridge, because the futon bridge has a wider ferrule, I guess you would call it, where the post goes in. It's a ferrule where the post goes in for the bridge to rock on, right? You know what I mean? So I originally set up this toolpath for the size that Godot uses, and Godot is a little bit smaller, so I got to do a different one in this because this is going to have the futon trim in it. We got one with a futon trim, we got one with a Godot trim, and we have two with hip shot trims coming up. So at any rate, this one I need to come in, re-drill the holes, and open up the slot, obviously, where the big block goes through. And we've put in the veneer like I talked about yesterday, so now what we got to do is clean all that up, and then we can get a look at it and see how it works, and see if my theory of it would be badass when it was done comes true, holds true, is true. Let's find out. All right, so first thing I got to do is put the dust collector shroud back on. I'll do this real quick before dinner tonight because I'm interested in seeing what it looks like. This is one of those things where you've been working on other things all day and you keep thinking to yourself, man, I can't wait to see if that works well, if it looks good. So this is what I'm going to do right now. Try to find that out. This will be the first time I've done it. If it doesn't work well, then we'll try to figure out why. But anyway, here we go. I've already done, the piece is already mounted. I already did the touch off. We just need to run the programs at this point, so let's do that and see where we're at. Okay, so my whole tool path didn't drill quite deep enough, but that's okay. I can fix that with a drill bit. I'm not going to worry about rewriting that program, but I'm happy with the way it did the rest of it. There's a couple little places. Let me get it off of here. I'll take it over to the bench, give you a close-up view of what we did here, clean this up a little bit, and then we can see what we did and how, if it worked or not, all right? So I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are. This is where we stand. We glued in the veneer yesterday. We glued in the veneer. I feel like sometimes I talk too fast. We glued in the veneer yesterday into these areas using the pieces that I cut on the CNC and the clamping cauls that I cut to make it a nice even clamping pressure. And there's a little bit of fuzzy stuff we need to sand off. So let's do that real quick. Get that sanded away, and then we can get a better look at what we have here. Get the right grit of sanding paper. Get down in the hole and take a little bit of the fuzzies off around the holes here. It did really well. I'm happy with the way it turned out. There's one little place here where there's a slight overlap on the veneer that I need to trim back. I just need to get a good vision of that in the computer, figure out exactly where that is, and then cut that back cleanly with a X-Acto knife. You can tell where it's hanging over just a little. That's nothing. Now, some people will say, why go through all this trouble? We'll just paint it black. You can do that. But now, I have these toolpaths written, and I can do this anytime I want to. I also already made about 10 extra pieces. So anytime I want this black surface behind my trim, there it is. Okay? It's a very clean black veneer. It's already built into the guitar. There's no paint, right? Couple little tiny little spots up by close to where the hole is, where it chipped a little. That's nothing. We're not worried about that because it's easily repaired with a little bit of the black CA glue. You wouldn't even know it was there if I didn't tell you it was there. It's that kind of small, you know. And this is what you get when you do this. You get that look. Let me get you over closer so you can see it. So you have this nice black veneer down inside there. Right? See that one little spot I need to cut back? With this, sand that a little bit, put some clear on it. You get that look. Nice and black back behind everything. And like I said before, I have these toolpaths written now, and I can very easily, because most of these will be very close to each other. If I need to repair someone's or do away with it on their guitar, they no longer want a Floyd Rose or whatever, all I have to do now is make these parts that fit right in, glue them in there, and we can take care of that. And it turned out well. I'm happy with the way it turned out. This is something that you can do. You can make a bunch of these pieces, glue them in, and then go do something else. Come back later, take that out, finish it off, right? Oh, almost dropped it. So there's a nice mahogany Celine body ready to go. All we have to do is all the other stuff that has to be done to it, all right? And of course we have the acoustic build coming up. We've got a bunch of these Celines coming up. There's all sorts of cool stuff coming up. So hang in there with us. Thank you very much for watching again, and thank you for subscribing, okay? We'll see you guys out there somewhere. Be good to each other, all right? Peace. Worth Guitars.